To those of you who are trying to find number 59, it's actually 359. So our opening hymn is When We Are Gathered, number 359. And if you stand, if you are willing and able, and we will sing. Go ahead.
Do you guys know this tune? Have you sung this? So I'll play it all the way through once, and you jump it, okay?
We
need all the help we can get.
I can't see.
Spirit, shine like stars. You may be seated. I chose that one. It's my fault. You may blame me. I thought it looked simple. It's not. So I'm Ken Willingham. I am your worship leader this morning. Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection and meaning, a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We also welcome guests from Facebook Live and our Zoom audience. Social level, economic status, gender identity, or whom you love. None of that matters. All are welcome here. Do we have any visitors this morning? We have visitors. If you would like to, you may stand, just give your name and where you're from.
Good morning. My name is Isabel. I'm coming from Germany. We are here to visit our beloved city.
Thank you. Thank you.
So hi, my name is Elizabeth. I'm also from Germany. As a mom. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Thomas. I'm also belonging to this family. I'm very happy to visit our friend Sylvia here in Evansville, and I enjoy very much the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm Sylvia, the host and a friend of Bill.
Very good. Thank you. And it's always nice to have a friend. Any oh, yes. Welcome. Thank you, because I missed him. She's got this grin on her face. You'll get used to us after a while. It'll be okay. Thank you. We have a visiting bunny applauding for us. Do we have any church announcements? Yep, we do.
Good morning. We have a Friends Night Out planned for August. It's going to be on Saturday this month. It's Saturday, August 20th at Cork and Cleaver, and it's in your weekly announcements. So please let me know by around the 18th if you're coming so I can give them a final count. But you all know Cork and Cleaver. We were there once in the before time, before pandemic, and it was really nice, and I think we'll have a good time again, so I hope to see you there. Thanks.
One other thing I want to mention, just in case this pertains to anyone here, we will be planning a new members class for October. We're hoping to have at least 4 or 5 people in order to have the class. There's a sign-up sheet out in the lobby, so if you are interested in becoming a member or taking the class to see if you want to become a member, please sign up. It will be one Sunday afternoon in October. I believe it's the 23rd, something like that. The date is on the sign-up sheet. I also wanted to mention, I had a list going around, a month or 2 ago for people to sign up to perhaps go visit Beverly Tonzo once a month. We could still use at least one more person. It's very helpful to me. For those of you who don't know, Beverly's a longtime member who has not been with us for a while because of her health conditions. She's in a nursing home now. And I try to make sure she has somebody in there at least twice a week. Once during the week, that's one time that gives me a little space. So if anybody is interested in doing it just once a month,
There will be a board meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. I have minutes with me. I hadn't figured out the email chain yet, so I just typed them up and brought them with me, and I'll have them after church. So,
Thank you. Any other church announcements? Okay, then. So each week we spend a few minutes stepping across the aisle to greet and welcome each other. And we can actually do this without face masks, hopefully without any concerns. Go for it. I'll chime when it's time to come back. I just love beating on that. Come to love child. Da, 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 da. A chalice lighting for when things are not okay. My beloved people, oh, this is by Reverend Molly Brewer. My beloved people, I cannot pretend, and so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now. That there is no reason to be angry, that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love holding us. There's a love holding all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love. Let me get things in order. It'll happen eventually. So if I may have 2 volunteers for the offering. A religious community is like a river formed of the many streams of our lives that meet and merge and flow to the sea. As members and friends of this religious community, we share our time and energy, our creativity, imagination, and vision, our talents, skills, and gifts, and the streams of our individual lives to create a river that is both deep and broad. A river that is of many streams, sustains life, and refreshes the land through which it flows. But the river of this community also depends on our shared financial support that makes real our shared values and vision. And we have received the offering for the support of this religious community and its work in the world. Thank you. This will go to good use. So we take a few moments each week to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. If you would like, you may come forward, take a pebble from the clear bowl, and place it in the bowl of water. This acknowledges the rippling effect of your sharing. We always start with joys. Does anybody have a fun time or a joy to share this morning that they would like to share? We have a Barbara. I skipped opening words. How'd I do that? Let's do the opening words. I've been sitting over there reading. The agenda. I thought you were going to do opening words. Go ahead. Okay. Today I feel like an amateur. Yeah.
I wanted to share this with you. It's from Facebook, so who knows? English, and then from Aramaic to Greek Latin. So I wanted to share it. So see what you think. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of your mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that bind us. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth, the power and fulfillment, and all is gathered and made whole once again, and so it is. Isn't that beautiful? So thank you.
Yeah, certainly very different from the one I did in service. Let me see what I can do to actually reorganize. So every week we take a few minutes to just sit quietly, meditate, do whatever you do. Really feel the energy around you. Our energy space is several meters wide and tall, and we just feel those around us. And I'll call you back and we'll sing Spirit of Light, number 123. Spirit of life, come unto me. Reign in the heart, all the sharings of compassion. Who in the wind, rise in the sea, in the hand, bring light, the shape of justice, bring holy close, when you set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce someone who was here several years ago before the great COVID, LouAnn Clark. She's come up to speak the message today. And where did you come from? Franklin. From Franklin, Tennessee.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning, everyone. You may have heard this question related to growth and change and risk. And the question is, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? That question is designed to inspire and motivate us. But it reminds me of a couple of other questions. And the other questions are, what would you do if a genie came down and granted you 3 wishes? Or what would you do if you won $1 billion in the lottery? One thing that I ask, if you know the answer to the question I'm going to ask you at the end of it, please keep it to yourself, let everyone else play along. Ready? My partner Chuck owns a cabin in the area of Tennessee known as the Cumberland Plateau. It's not quite the mountains, but it's pretty high up there. And when we go up there, when we decide to come back to Franklin, we have to go down this road that is narrow, it is twisty, turny, steep, and scary. There's one of those turns as you go down the hill that they call a hairpin turn, which means when you go around that turn, you meet yourself coming back. So come with me to the Cumberland Plateau. Pretend that you are driving a car, whether you can actually drive yet or not. Pretend that you're driving a car and you are headed for that hairpin turn, and you realize as you approach it that your accelerator is stuck. So what do? Maybe you try the brake, but the brake goes straight to the floor. It's failed too. So in desperation, you try to shift the car into neutral or into park. Nothing is happening. No system of your car is working. Everything in your car is failing. You are hurtling toward this turn. And I didn't tell you that if you go a little bit to the right at the end of this turn, there's a cliff, a wall that you could crash into. Or if you go just a little bit to the left, there's a cliff you could go off. So you can be smashed flat, or you can go over the edge to heaven knows where. And let me ask you something. How do you feel right now? My heart's racing, and I know how the story ends. My palms feel a little sweaty. I feel really anxious, pretending that this is happening to me. If you find yourself in this moment, what can you do to be safe? Okay, I'm not going to tell you the answer right now. I'm going to leave you right there at the edge of that cliff. It's called a cliffhanger, and we're going to do that this morning. While you wait at the edge of the cliff, I'm going to tell you a story about a dog. My dad is a duck hunter, and he had an old yellow Labrador retriever, and the dog passed away. So one year as Father's Day approached, I thought, a puppy would be a great gift for my dad. So I searched all around, but there were no puppies to be had. But there was one yellow lab available, a 6-month-old, half-grown dog named Roscoe. Roscoe belonged to a family here in Evansville. And the family had a little tiny house and a little tiny yard for rambunctious Roscoe. But they also had a little tiny girl who did not want to lose her beloved pet. But they had no choice. They didn't have room for this dog. And so I went to visit the family and to meet Roscoe, and he was perfect for my dad. So I sat down with the little girl, and I explained to her that Roscoe was going to live in a place that would be perfect for him, that he would have 40 acres to run around on a farm, and he would have other dogs he could play with, and he would get to go hunting. And best of all, there were 2 ponds on the property that he could swim in. She was stricken. "No," she said, "but he doesn't know how to swim." So I explained to her that Labrador retrievers are born knowing how to swim. Well, she was doubtful, but she said goodbye to Roscoe, and I delivered him to my dad, who was so excited to get this dog. He started training Roscoe immediately because 6 months is the perfect time to start. He has this device called a training dummy. It's like a cylinder covered with canvas, and it floats. And so he has a little gun that fires this thing out several yards, and the dog will run and get it and bring it back. So he started working with Roscoe, and Roscoe took to it immediately. He was born to do this. He would go after that dummy and bring it back every single time. So after a few days of working with the dummy, he fired the dummy into one of the ponds, and Roscoe went for it. He ran after that dummy, and he ran into the water, and he sank, disappeared under the water. My dad is standing on the pond bank, dumbfounded, waiting. The ripples on top of the water smoothed out. No Roscoe. And my dad's standing at the edge of the pond. Did I just lose another dog? And then Roscoe popped to the surface and swam back to the bank. And then my dad sent him back for the dummy, which he went and retrieved, and he swam the rest of his life the way Labrador retrievers are born to swim. It was always in him. He always had the ability, but he had never found himself in a situation where he could express it. And once he did, he rose to the occasion, even though he was literally in over his head. Are you ready for the cliff answer? Well, sorry, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer while I tell you a story about running. You may not be able to tell by looking at me, but I am no athlete. When I was in my late 20s, I used to live in downtown Henderson, and my house was right on the route of a charity 5K run. And every year I would watch these people go by my house, average human beings, not elite athletes, normal people, Vicky from church, for crying out loud, run past my house, and I'd be on the porch smoking a cigarette, wondering how in the world do human beings run 3 miles without stopping? Well, a few years later, I had managed to quit smoking Still didn't believe I had that in me. Still pleased that it will be 30 years next month, y'all. So happy about that. But as happens with a lot of people, when they quit smoking, I had picked up a few pounds. And so I started walking to try to take those pounds off. And my friend Vicky from church and some other friends encouraged me to start running. Well, let me tell you my experience with running. When I was 13 years old and in the 8th grade, we were supposed to, in PE class, run around that quarter-mile track behind the school one time. Couldn't do it. Could not run the whole way. I had to walk every time. It was humiliating. But when I was out for a walk a few times, I decided to try a little bit of running. Then I ran a little bit more, then a little bit more. And then the day came that I knew I was ready to run that first mile. So I called up Vicky and I said, hey, will you go over to that school with me? I want to run around that track. And I did. I ran around it 4 times without stopping. My first mile, I'll never forget it, I hope. It was a triumphant moment for me. And so I kept running. And do you know what I did? I ran in that 5K race, ran past my old house, big as you please. I was so proud of myself. But life happens, right? And I ended up getting a divorce, and my husband got custody of the running friends. And I didn't have anyone to run with me anymore. But then I heard about this group in Evansville called Team 13, and they were training to run a half marathon, 13.1 miles. And I went, not gonna happen. But if I go there, there will be lots of people, and maybe I'll meet someone I can run with. So I signed up and I went, and sure enough, I met a woman named Ellen. Ellen and I fell into step about the 3rd training run, and we chatted the whole way through that first three-mile run. And I told her straight up front, Ellen, I'm not running this half marathon. Here's the deal. I don't have it in me, but if you don't mind, I'll run with you until it just gets too hard. And when it gets too hard, I'm going to quit. And she said, that's okay. I enjoy talking with you, and I think we'll be great. We're about the same pace. I think we'll be great together. So we ran together a few times. And at the end of each run, each training run, she would ask me, will you be here next time? And I would say yes. Because we ran on 2 nights a week, and then we ran on Saturday mornings. And on Saturday mornings, they added a mile to each one of the runs. So we started with 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. I had run a couple of 10Ks by then. I was feeling pretty sassy about that 6, made it 7. I had run 8 miles in my life once before I ran with Ellen. Then came the 9-mile day. Y'all know this town, right? It started at Mesker Zoo. It was August. It was hilly. It was hot, it was humid, it was 9 miles. And I thought we were both going to die before the end of it, but we lived. And when we got to the end of it, the trainers of Team 13 said, you know what? That run you just did is the hardest one you're going to do. I don't care if it isn't the longest, it was the hardest because it was hot, it was hilly, and you did it. And if you can do this, you can do the whole 13. And I went, I don't think so. But Ellen said, next week is 10 miles. Will you be here? And I said, yes. And I ran 10. And she said, next week is 11. Will you be here? And I said, yeah, I think I will. And 11 was the furthest we ran in training. One chilly morning in October, I found myself standing in the most unlikely place that I ever could imagine, on top of Wrights Hill at the starting line of a half marathon race. And I ran every step of that race with Ellen, except for the very end where she ran off and left me the last half mile because she's way younger than me. But when I crossed the finish line, I fell into her arms. I didn't know I had it in me, that it was always there. It just had to come out a little step at a time. I had never put myself in the situation where it could come out. But when I did, I found out it had always been there. I ran a second half marathon the next year, but Ellen didn't run it with me because she was pregnant with her daughter. But she came out on the course on her bike to cheer me on. Look, I'm not saying that you can do anything you put your mind to. I have arthritis now. I will never run another half marathon. I can't do it. I literally can't. But there are so many things that we can do that we just don't know. All right, let's go back to that cliff. You ready? Remember where you are. You're in the car, driving along, coming down the hill, headed for the hairpin turn. As you approach, your accelerator is stuck, your brakes have failed, the gear shift has failed. You can't even open the door to jump out of the car. And as you get to the hairpin turn, you realize there was a previous accident since you were there last, and there's not even a guardrail anymore. There's the big stone face, there's the cliff. What will you do? What can you do to be safe in this moment? Stop pretending. Stop pretending you're not in a car. You're in a seat in a church. Stop pretending you're safe. You're fine. Everything's okay. All right, are y'all a little annoyed with me right now? That's okay. I will take the risk of annoying you to make my point. What are you pretending you can't do? Are you pretending that your worries and your fears are more real than your dreams? Are you pretending that you're too young or too old, that you're too soon on the scene or too late, that you're not educated enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're out of time? Are you telling yourself you're too lazy? What are you pretending? That we're too divided in this country, that the other side is too far gone, that there is another side, that there's an us and a them? What are you pretending that if you stopped, you might find out what you could do? What would you do if you only knew you could? And when you stop pretending, you may find out in a moment of blinding clarity that you can rise to the occasion, even if, like Roscoe, you were in way over your head. Or maybe if you stop pretending and put yourself in the situation, you may find that one step at a time, you can get to where you really want to go. I really love the author Richard Schwartz. He's a psychologist, and he wrote, "Our fate is not in our hands. It's in our heads. But I think it's in both. If we stop pretending and take action, who knows what we could do? What could you do if you only knew? What would you do if you only knew you could?"
Questions, comments, anything? Are your heart still racing along like mine? And I knew the ending.
I am not a long-distance runner. But in college, I did a 5:56 mile. Wow. Hyperventilate, and I swam 2 lengths of a half Olympian pool. Again, you're not out of boxing, your brain is telling you to do that. So, yeah, don't pretend. That's very good.
Still thinking about it, still processing?
I taught math in high school or for high school kids. And I always thought I wasn't athletic. And, you're born athletic, right? And I guess you're born mathematician too. But it just was such a good thing as a teacher to learn. You can learn this by practicing. I mean, athletes aren't natural athletes. I mean, they have to work at it and they get better. And same with a student of anything. You have to practice. And that your talk was very good, because just try, and you won't be great. That's okay. Just keep doing it. Yeah, thank you.
Any comments online? Here to be comment-free. Okay, we do have a closing hymn, number 1064, Barbara's favorite, Blue Boat Home. And I rather like it too. Stand if you're willing and able. Thank you. Real no still my trembling heart can sing. I've been singing all my life now. Never harbored or port have I known. The universe is the ocean I travel. Earth is my blue road home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here, my sail's companions, awakened pilgrim souls, making our way to the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. Thanks to the wave upholding me, hail the great wizard beyond, greeting the infancy before his head, my sailor's song. I was born upon the islands, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel. The earth is my blue road home. So now we will extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame but not the light. We carry till we are together again. So I'm without formal closing words. However, it's a very good story. A lot of good connection here today. I thank you all very much for being here, working your way with me past all of the missed opportunities to do it in a nice straight row. Well, here, there, back, beyond, wherever we go, we get there. And we do it as a community, which is incredibly valuable to me. Thank you. May you go in peace and light, and may your being bless the world.